Hello, everybody. I'm not sure what chapter this is on, but we are going through page 150, starting at page what is it, Jamie? 130?
130. Wow.
130.
Yeah. 132 technically, whatever.
Pages there. But anyways, these pages were so good on production and how this separates you from just basic leadership. A real leader gets things done and they get results. And what's really interesting is a lot of husbands will hear are skeptical, or even people on the sidelines watching are skeptical until they see you get results. I was just talking to another diamond on the team about people who would watch her for 3 years. And this person's been in the business for like 10. So been watching for 3 years, just how she was doing in the business, and finally decided that she had enough success many years into being a diamond to actually follow her. And just thinking about how people are waiting and watching for you to get results. When I started and Brittany Howard quit halfway to gold, she waited until I came back after my 2 years of being stuck, came back as a Ruby before she decided that I had enough success to be able to lead her to success. So I think this is a really important chapter. Just talking about how producers attract other producers and how they're attractive to other producers. They enjoy collaborating and getting things done with people. And that is one of the key things that as an introvert, I realize that I love about people is collaborating with people who are doing and making things happen. And those are the people that I just created a really solid bond with, because we have this common goal, and I can't imagine anything better in my business. So Jamie, Sal, do you guys have anything to add to that before we move on to page 135?
I just wanted to point out at the very first paragraph there, he mentions that as a level 3 leader, getting to that point, getting to that point as a leader actually creates the confidence, the credibility, and increased influence. So to me, what that reminds me of is wherever you start from, as a level 1, as a level 2, as you're growing, it is okay that you're not immediately confident, or you don't have that much influence, or maybe even obviously credibility, because credibility comes with producing those results, right? But that stuff grows. So it's important to know that doing and moving forward anyway to produce those results, to learn, to make things happen, that is what is going to increase your confidence. That is what increases your credibility and your influence. So it's okay if you don't feel like you necessarily have that all figured out or have all of that all together. It will grow. And that's the point of working through this and growing up the levels of leadership here.
Yep, totally agree. And I just quick want to mention, I just want to challenge you guys to think about moving from level 2 to level 3 production. He asks, he says, if you can't seem to produce those results, why? Usually the case is because of these things: lacking self-discipline, work ethic, organization, or skills to be productive. And so I just want to challenge you guys to maybe take those and think about those. And, what does that look like in my life? Am I lacking in self-discipline? Am I lacking in work ethic? Am I lacking in some organizational skills? And we'll talk about that as we get into chapter, but just kind of start your wheels turning there and thinking about yourself and how you could maybe be more productive that way in production.
That's really interesting. And I forgot where that was in the book, Sal. So I'm glad you pointed that out. I was listening to Ed Milet a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about people with self-discipline and how to get self-discipline. The easiest way to teach people that is to get them working out, to move their body. And since I started working out again less than 2 weeks ago, I have just been more self-disciplined across the board in every single area. It just like translates into every area. So if you're struggling with that, I encourage you to I felt like I didn't have time. I'm so freaking busy. I don't know how I had time to do this, and adding it in. I'm getting way more done now. So I just, so good. Moving on to page 135. Those who produce results and those who give you reasons that don't. Those are the two types of people in the business community. And gosh, diamonds, don't we have all the excuses in the world for why we can't get something done? Like, we could have all of the excuses that anybody has. And that's why I love people who have like hard times in life, or they just have a lot on their plate and they get this stuff done. I have so much respect for that kind of person. And those watching respect that too. They deliver results and they live on their performance, not their potential. And oh, this whole section right here was really convicting of myself too, because sometimes I think about my potential. And even just this week, just talking to diamonds and topics for Ruby retreat, and I'm just like, like I could talk on that, but I am not living that myself. And he says right there that on page 136, people always believe what we do more than what we say, and the credibility of a level 3 leader can be summed up in one word, and that is example. You guys, if you want people to do something, you have to already be doing it. And this was my notes a little further down, but your people are going to do 50% of what you're doing. If you expect them to work more than 30 minutes a day, then you have to be working more than an hour a day. If you expect your team to be doing things, you have to be doing that as an example, and you can't lead them unless you're already doing those things yourself. So that was just so powerful.
Reminds me of when we've talked in the past before about doing things with people. You show them, then you do it with them, and then you kind of kick them out of the nest to do it on their own, right? So, but you can't even go through that process if you're not doing it, yourself. So, and then being able to do that with them is so stinking powerful. And then the next part, Sal, do you have anything on that before we go over to 2? Or you can move over to 2. All right. Number 2 goes into setting the standard for others visually. So I think that the important thing in this is saying that anyone who can produce has a chance to influence people at a higher level. So that's where your influence comes in. And influence is leadership, nothing more, nothing less, right? So we're kind of getting to the meat of things right here at level 3 leadership, because now you are gaining that influence. And when you gain that influence, you're able to help people move forward. You're able to attract people. You're able to do a whole lot more in your business. And it's incredibly important. I didn't have a lot to say on that part. I could move into 3, but Sal, I'll let you do that.
Okay. I think yeah, I didn't have much more on that one either. I was going to say one thing, but it's okay. You kind of covered that. So number 3, leadership production brings clarity and reality to the vision. When followers see positive results and see goals being met, they get a clear picture of what it means to fulfill the vision. And so level 3 leaders help their people to see what productivity looks like. Again, example. Doing it by example, doing it, having them follow you, right? Expanding the vision, because with increased confidence and skill, the people doing the work recognize that they can actually accomplish more than they may have believed was possible. So casting the vision in that way, we talk about that a lot too, right? It validates their efforts. It makes their vision that much clearer. You have to be able to kind of bring that out in front of them too, because it can be a little scary. Sometimes it's not clear. That clarity is not there, right? So yeah. I don't know if you guys have something else to add on that one, but
Yeah, we'll move into number 4 because I didn't have a ton on those 2 things. But number 4, this was really good on page 141. Many people in leadership positions try to solve problems by using systems. And I think that this is a really common thing that we will see happen in expecting your systems to change everything. Now, systems can be good, like a follow-up system. I think it's very beneficial for that, but you cannot systematize relationships, for one thing. He says you cannot pay others to try to solve problems for yourself, and you cannot delegate the solving of problems to someone else. You have to be the one breaking down the obstacles. You have to be the one correcting mistakes and directing people. you cannot turn leadership into a system. And for years, we've talked like, all right, systems are important. What is our system for leadership development? And honestly, the only thing I could think of was like, read John Maxwell. Like, go put this into practice and love people and read John Maxwell, because you cannot really turn it into a system to develop people. It's because you're dealing with people, and it's so customized to them and really changes based on the person. Nothing builds self-esteem and confidence and self-confidence like accomplishment. And I think we can see that even with our own kids. Most of us are probably moms, and we can see that producing is the best way to keep morale up. If they're feeling successful, yeah, I'm taking my kids to sell at farmers markets right now. That's their thing. And so I go with them and I watch them. And if it's a good day, they're really excited. And if it's not a good day, there wasn't a lot of production, they're really learning some life lessons on it's not always going to be a great day. And I just think that's really good, that we need to really make sure our teams are producing. And that's why we talk about getting people workers under them right away. So funny too. Again, today I talked to somebody, and she had somebody new who was working under her, and she was just excited to work again. It just creates that like, oh my gosh, maybe I can do this. And I see joins coming in, and now I kind of get residual income. So having people with them producing is really key. Jamie, you want to talk about number 5? If you had more on number 4, that's cool too.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to point out on number 4, it kind of was like an ouch factor, is he says leaders who can't produce always hurt their team. So something that kind of is just like, okay, here's like in your face, in our faces, in terms of what we're doing. It's either helping or hurting. We're either helping, we're producing and helping people move forward, or it's not even kind of a just standstill. He actually says hurting the team. So just kind of something to take ownership of. I mean, that's really a big part of leadership as well. In terms of, well, before we get into momentum, I want to backpedal a second, if you don't mind. So as we're talking, it just made me think of this, and we just had this big event this weekend at our place. And one thing that Genevieve pointed out, first thing she said to me, because we were talking about my place, and then she said out loud multiple times in the training, was, because I told her my story a little bit. I said, when I first started, I started because, I mean, a big part of me going all in the business was because we couldn't afford a mortgage. We were looking for a home. We couldn't afford a mortgage. And here we have now our dream home, and it's like beyond anything we could have imagined. And it's just, it brings me to tears if I think about it too much, but it's the visual thing, the producing and the visual thing. I mean, that was something where people could be there and see that, and see what Plexus really had, like the impact that that's made. And I think that, and she pointed out, she's like, what is your, I mean, we were in this beautiful barn, and, we had the Highland cows, and she's like, what is your barn? What is your farm? What is that to you in terms of your dream? You might not want a barn, but you might want something else, right? So what is that? Like visually, this is what's possible. You're here, you're experiencing it. And, it's not that you have to have that big of a leap to be able to be a producer. Like that is one example to showcase like the magnitude of this, right? And there's even more beyond that. This isn't like the top. But even when you're helping one person start, it starts with all the small things along the way too. It's all the parts along the journey that you get to showcase, that you get to be excited about, that you get to help build belief in people and create that vision. So that comes from you and your perspective on your journey. So if you are always looking at like maybe what you haven't gotten yet, or the goal you haven't achieved yet, but you're not living in the moment of the things you are doing and helping people with, and being able to be excited about that and express that to other people, that is the impact that you can make with your team on each accomplishment along the way. So use the entire journey all the way to where you go to be able to showcase the producing and to inspire people and to bring that to light. So I just wanted to share that just from this weekend and everything. But all right, I will let Sal move into momentum since I just went on that tangent.
Oh, that was so good, James. And just being there too, it was just, yeah, it was an amazing, amazing day. So I loved that she kept saying that too. What is your farm or barn or whatever? That's so cool. Okay, so leadership production creates momentum. And so we all know how important momentum is and how exciting momentum is. And when we're in momentum, it's just fun and it's great and it's where leaders want to be, right? So advises leaders to spend less time trying to fix problems and more trying to create momentum. So what are you doing to create momentum on your team? And so he talks about 3 different kinds of, there's momentum takers, breakers, and makers. Takers obviously are along for the ride, right? If the momentum is moving, they move with it. It's just, if it stopped, so do they. So not much, I don't know, benefit maybe to that one. Momentum breakers, they actually hurt the morale of your team. They, just not beneficial in any way. Okay. But momentum makers, that's what we want. All right. If you build solid permissional relationships on top of a foundation of positional rights and add the results of productivity, you will gain momentum, and you want to be the person that makes that momentum. Okay. So thinking about your team, thinking about you as a leader, how are you producing momentum, keeping momentum, and not being a taker or a breaker of that momentum?
If I could
Yeah,
add
I
real
love.
quick,
Go ahead,
Val,
Jamie.
we talked earlier, Val, about this and Sal in our group. We're talking about like creating business builders. And I know this is a big thing that everyone is looking for, right? And this just made me think of this in terms of when we bring people in, acknowledging and knowing, like he says under momentum takers, their productivity and effectiveness are based almost entirely on what others do to make things happen in the organization. So we're gonna have people come in that just follow along. So if we back down, they'll back down. If things are going great, they might move forward great, right? But if you want to bring in high level leaders, you want to bring in momentum makers, you have to be that momentum maker yourself. And it's also normal that you'll have some people floating in the middle there. So I think realizing like what is a normal part of an organization and a team, and the people that you're looking for that are going to raise that bar with you, right? So there's going to be a difference between maybe different level of workers that you have. There's some normalcy there, but you want to create and find and develop those momentum makers along with yourself leading that first. So sorry, Val, go ahead.
No, that was really good. Really, really good. I won't add anything onto that then because that was perfect. And then um I thought it was interesting where he says, don't worry about making friends and don't worry about making enemies. How many of us in our reach outs, like that's what we're worried about? We're worried about, do they like me or are they gonna hate me? That literally defines like what we should not even be worrying about when we're reaching out and when we're following up. I just hear that so commonly. Worry about winning, which is getting the people who want this, getting them on the products, getting them loving the products, and then continuing to follow up until they're sharing the opportunity. Because let's face it, everybody needs more money. Everybody at least needs their products paid for. And we all need to be sharing the products. So I just thought that was really interesting. And then, does anybody ever want to leave a winning team? No. So that was really good. If you want to keep your team focused on winning and giving them wins and leading them to wins. And like Jamie was saying, he defines momentum, which I was going to say, reading 21 Laws of Leadership, the chapter on momentum was probably one of my favorites and one that I point to the most. And they're like, read this. This is how you create momentum. This is how you're going to make your life easier. You just need to do everything in that chapter. But he defines morale as the faith in the leader. And if everybody's following you and you're heading in the right direction, they can work on their leadership along the way. They don't have to be off the bat a strong leader as long as you are being that leader, and then they can learn while watching you. And then let's see, moving on to the next section. Oh yeah, about personal production and then team success, you can be really producing on your own, but that won't make you a leader of producers. You can still be like a rock star recruiter and doing all the best things, but until you translate that into helping your team do the same, then you're just like, it's yourself. It's not the leadership aspect of it. And then do you guys have anything on that? I had some stuff for point number 2.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll just jump right into that. So level 3. I'm not sure where you all stand as far as this, who is on a level 3 leadership, but on page 148, I underlined this and I sent this to a couple diamonds because I think that this is the hardest part of being a diamond, for me anyways. Most leaders experience days when they wish no one was watching their performance, looking to them for direction, or wanting them to make something happen. However, effective leaders understand the cost of leadership is carrying the responsibility of their team's success on their shoulders. And that is the way every leader starts to feel on a level 3 leadership. I'm certain Sal, Jamie, you guys have felt this. Some of you on here may have felt that too. And it is hard. And I just remember the Bible verse of not to grow weary doing what is right. Cause sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, like it's like you have to add the relationships and then you have to add it just keeps compounding. And then I think for me, it's just always nice to know that I'm not alone in feeling that, like, you guys, you love your team so much and you want them to be successful. And sometimes I woke up in the middle of the night trying to problem solve how to help people who are just not where they want to be in their business. And I see they're like right there, just chipping away, and their diamonds are right on the other side of the rocks. And it's just like, how do we get them there? And right now, all of us diamonds are just really thinking about this for Ruby Retreat and what do you guys need and how can we help you have everything that we have? How can we give you the ability and give you what you need to believe in yourself and also the skill set to be able to have what Jamie was just able to inspire everybody in Michigan with this weekend. So yeah, that was just what I had on that.
That's really good. I think there's a important thing that you said that points out it's not just, caring, because I think everybody cares. I think if you have someone join you, you're going to care, you want the best for them. But there's a difference between caring and actually carrying that weight. And like Phallin said, like problem solving and thinking, okay, how can I help? How can we work through something, right? So it goes beyond just wanting the best for someone, but it's holding that responsibility of, okay, this is my job as a leader to help them get to that next level, to problem solve, to figure things out, which I think ties into this next point with production leadership requires making difficult decisions, which I think is not easy and not everyone is willing to do, just like everyone's not willing to, like make it not just about them and they want to lead. So same thing with these tough decisions. You have to be able to have conversations. You have to be able to, not let people just coast through. And I was thinking, when I was thinking about that, like, why did I have some of those hard conversations with people? What made me step into that? Because that was not something I wanted to do. I am a yellow. I am a person who does not like confrontation. And if anybody knew me before this, they probably would they've told me, like, they're surprised I did this. So what made me step in and have some of those hard conversations or not shy away from those things? Well, it wasn't because I suddenly wanted to do it. It wasn't because it suddenly seemed easy. It was because I felt like it was the right thing to do. I felt like it was the best thing for my people. And I had strong leaders above me who encouraged me, to do hard things and all that. So I had modeled leadership above me as well. So I could learn, but I also needed to step and do some of the scary things. But I was able to do that because I made it not about myself. I made it about them and what was best going to help them and what was best for the team or whatever that might be. So I think that we have to be willing to make difficult decisions, knowing that it's about the betterment of that other person or the betterment of the team, and not just basing it off of ourselves or our feelings or what's comfortable. And that really sets that apart. So, and then he also mentions most of the decisions are related to ourselves, 3/4 of them, and a quarter is about, other people even. So, in terms of that, we have to self-reflect and make all those difficult decisions about ourselves and the actions that we are going to make, and holding that mirror up to ourselves, right? So I don't need to read all those, but he's at the bottom of 149. I think those are important to reflect on. How many of these am I doing? Am I stepping into? Or what can I do better among this list?
And along with that, speaking from experience with making hard decisions and dealing with confrontation and stuff like that, sometimes it is hard to know what the right decision, what the right thing is for that decision. Like if you're faced with something, a confront or whatever it is, and you're not sure what the right path to take is or how to guide, just remember just some tangible things. Sometimes those decisions can be emotionally charged, right? When you're dealing with feelings and all of this with people. And so find an upline who go to your upline, who you trust, who maybe isn't like totally invested emotionally like you are, that can give you just a level-headed response and answer and scenario and perspective, right? That you might need to hear. Because I remember sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm faced with this thing I have to figure out and this decision I have to make, but I'm not sure if it's the right one. And sometimes you just need perspective from someone else, that isn't like maybe in it, that can just give a non-judgmental, basic neutral help. So just some advice there. And I would also say to what Val was saying, just about diamonds and even top upper level, jewels, that it's heavy sometimes. It's hard because we do want to see our people succeed, and just a longing in our hearts for that. So many times of just, oh gosh, I just want it for her so bad. And so it can just get heavy and hard. But and so, we do our best and sometimes we feel like we fail, and so we don't want that to discourage you from, moving up to the top and wanting that, because in the hard is where we learn. In the hard is where, we are shaped and grown. And I think Val and Jamie would totally say to 100%, it is so worth it. All the hard we go through, all the heavy that we, carry, and all of that for everybody and ourselves and whatever our teams, and so worth it. It's so good. And we wouldn't be here and who we are without any of that, so I just want to encourage you in that too.
Yeah. Doesn't John Maxwell say somewhere about just the bigger, not the burden, but the more that's on you, the greater the reward. Like it really is that big. Like the heaviness might be big, but the joy and the accomplishment is so much bigger and so much more worth it than playing small, I guess. I love, just to wrap this up here, he says, why must I always go first? Going first might not always be easy or fun, but is always a requirement of leaders. And so many times, y'all, planning Ruby Retreat is so hard for me. Like there's so many aspects of it that are not my skill set. And sometimes I feel like that, like, why is it me? Like, why am I having to collect all the money and sort all that? Like, it just makes me crazy. But I think that these are just some of the things that you do as a leader. And I know you guys have experienced it too. And just going out there and going first and doing more than anything that you would expect on your teams. And then also, like Sal was saying, if somebody is struggling, and you have to make hard decisions or have to make the choice to dig in and help somebody, even when you have no idea how to help them, just racking your brain, like, what can I do to help them? How can I grow as a leader, and growing yourself? Because what's easy is just throwing people away, just like moving on, moving on, moving on. And then you realize that you don't really have anyone. And I think that's where the hard decisions come in. Like, do I keep helping someone? Do I not? And just trying to make those right decisions. I love that list at the bottom here. This is a good assessment of, are you doing enough? Are you doing the right things? Leading yourself before you try to lead others. Are you accountable to others? Are you setting goals, and are you reaching them? It's the end of the month, you guys. How are you doing with your cruise contest goals? Are you reaching them? Are you striving for them, even if you don't achieve them? Have you given it your all? Or are you looking at the end of the month and like, where did September go? I didn't reach any of my goals. And that's okay. You have October, you can start over again. But just pushing yourself for goals. And that's what I'm teaching my kids too. Like, all right, here's your goal, but like, push yourself beyond that. So you guys have anything to add, or should we start taking questions here?
We can take questions.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
good.
What would you guys say is how you got good at casting that vision for people before they've had like big wins? Maybe they're just like not quite silver yet, or silver's going slow, or it took a long time to get silver. When it's like slower to get those wins, like how do you guys still like actively keep casting that big vision, or like how do you guys feel like you got good at that outside of practice?
I think getting creative too, like, all right, let's try this. Like, if what I'm doing right now isn't getting people silvers, then let's do this. Let's do a big event. Or I think just really looking at what other people are doing, who's creating a lot of silvers and what are they doing, and just constantly changing and revamping our plan or what we're doing. If it isn't working, trying something different.
Yeah, getting in action and being excited about something. So even if it's not like something miraculously new, it might be that I was doing events this way, I'm gonna do it this way instead, but it's new, it's a slightly different tweak, like Fallon said, but you're excited about it, and excitement goes such a long way. And if you can, build off one win, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to accomplish that big vision immediately, but you accomplish a win in the direction, and then you build off that and acknowledge and be excited for what they're doing, what your people are doing, even the consistency and the, doing the things afraid, and making a dream board together, making a vision board together, talking about it, just being, having that be part of the way, you speak together, watching a diamond dock together, like all these things that you can build that excitement off of together and enjoy that journey, I think makes a big difference versus making the destination be the end all be all, right? You have to bring in all the steps along the way.
So I agree with that when you're helping a silver or a gold and casting vision to them, because that's kind of what you were asking, right? Like casting. So you have to celebrate the little things and cast vision for maybe the next step. But thinking back to my journey when I was a silver, moving on to gold, and then moving on to senior gold or whatever. For me, it was the little things too, but it was the big things more. I think this also is a reminder of you really having a relationship with your business builders and your silvers and gold. Who are they? What are they struggling with in their life? What do they need? What are their pain points? What did they come and start doing this for in the first place? I was so broken financially, and that burden was so heavy on me and Eric's shoulders that when I got spoken to about being debt free and being able to pay off our debt and not struggling with where is the money coming from this month, that to me was huge vision and kept me going. Like, and so I think, you know, not everybody's why or reason will be financial and struggling with finances like mine was. So that I think, you know, remembering who your business builders are, what they need, and casting vision to them in that way. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think setting goals was definitely something that helps like me with training my leaders. It was just kind of like, okay, if you want to earn, for example, the cruise, like if you want to earn this prize, then you're going to learn how to recruit, you're going to learn how to follow up. And so because they wanted the end goal of those small little things on the way to diamond, then they learned how to do the things. So if the reach outs weren't working, then they would reach out a different way. I think being really goal oriented, definitely super red though. And I think a lot of my leaders were really red. So that motivated us a lot.
You had some.
Oh, so I'm sorry. I was going to say, you just made me think of something that I feel like is a little hard for me because I am more red. And so I'm very like, here is my giant goal and I'm excited about it. But a lot of my builders right now, they'll be like, oh, I don't know, like very timid almost in their goals. And so I struggle to then cast big vision when I'm getting that more timid response. So
I think you have to go back to what Sal said on that in terms of what speaks their language and who are they. So if something big and like boisterous and daring is scary for them, then what does speak their language? What are they looking for? What's their personality? What do they enjoy doing? What is scary for them? Know who your people are so that you can speak their language when you talk to them. You're not going to speak, you know, like what excites and motivates you. You're going to speak like to them on what excites and motivates them, and then bring them just a little bit further. So like Tiffany and Phallin were probably more loud um than even what like than my level per se, but I am competitive, so I guess I have that going for me. But I'm very yellow, I'm very self-conscious, all these things when I started, right? So a lot of times they would come to my level, they would cast vision, they know, you know, like, and they would also call me just a little bit higher. They wouldn't like call me way up here, like, yep, you need to go speak on stage right now. Like I die, but like they would, you know, call me just a little bit higher and a little bit higher. And so, their vision was still really big, but then they, I think, had to speak in a way that connected with me versus intimidated me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so if I have somebody right now, I may or may not, who like, yeah, we should get the cruise. Like, let's work for that. That's 12 joins. And they set out, they want to get the cruise, but that's just like an idea. They want the cruise and they can't even recruit one person. I'm not going to keep trying to push them to get 12. I'm going to back up to where they're at and be like, okay, what are your messages? And then I'm going to celebrate their wins and that they got silver. And then I'm going to encourage them that we still have 3 months in the contest. This is great. Now we can help those 3 people get 3 people. So I think just you kind of have to gauge, like when Jamie joined, she had clearly already gotten her products paid for by the time I ended up on the phone with her. And I just was like, yeah, you're going to make, she wanted to make what, say $1,000 a month. I'm like, girl, you've already passed that. You're gonna be making whatever, whatever it was, 300. And then I'm like, oh, you already did that. So you see, like you're kind of like meeting them where they're at, but just going a little bit further. I didn't take her straight to $30,000 a month. I just said, you're going to go all the way. Like I didn't make it like it was all the way. It was just like, you're doing really good. So you look how much better you can even do beyond that. Oh, you can totally hit that goal and go a little bit further. So yeah, don't be afraid to back up a little bit based on where you have them going. You've already given them that vision, and then you can come back down to their level, but just getting them out of their comfort zone is the key. You don't want to paralyze them. If they get paralyzed, you're going too hard or too fast. If it shuts them down, it's too much. I even do this now, like you'd be surprised the things that Jules go through. Like, okay, that was too much. Like, I can't ask them to speak on stage at convention right now, or I can't ask them to train at Ruby Retreat right now. They're not there yet. But mentally, I'm like, that's where they need to get. What do we need to do right now to get them there? Who else?
Hello, ladies. I just was reading on page 149 where it says, today as I look back, I regret the decisions I failed to make more than I do the wrong decisions I did make. So as you grew your business, is there any decisions you failed to make, when you were at a lower level to get you to where you are now?
So I had a big decision that I had to make. When I first started, I was making about $2,000 a month, posting every day in like 50 garage sale pages. Back then you would post like a before and after and a little story. And I was doing that for 8 hours a day. Not even kidding. Copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. I had all the windows open and then I would slowly close out of thousands. And I was making $2,000 a month, and that was a lot of money, and we really needed the money. But I was like, okay, I am not ranking past whatever it was. I think it was silver to gold. Like, I'm not ranking past anything. I'm not diamond after 2 years. I'm going to have to stop this. And I knew that once I stopped that, my steady influx of 80 new customers a month that were total strangers that I wasn't building relationships with, that were totally not even the same whatever, same religion, like they just weren't the same as me at all. Like there was never any hope with that going anywhere. Then I had to stop that and shift gears to friends, relationships, leadership development. And I knew that it was going to take a paycheck cut. That was a hard decision, but I knew that it had to be made. And so that was one decision that I did have to make, like to shift. And I knew that it would be temporarily painful for a long-term benefit in the end.
Good question. I'm still thinking. Sal, you got one? I'm still thinking too, kind of. Lisa, that is a phenomenal question. I love it. You're making us think tonight. So I could say lots of them. I guess one that popped in my head that's very simple is just me changing my mindset around personal growth and the decision I had made to not be on team calls and book clubs, and that they wouldn't change me or benefit me in any way. And I didn't need that to grow a business. I definitely was wrong in that decision. And so I think, when I started doing those things, obviously things changed for me. And opening my mindset and learning so much about my mindset and how it makes a huge difference in my business, and how getting on those things and being part of things and growing with a team, and all of those things that I didn't really think I needed. I wouldn't be where I am today without any of them. And so that probably was a decision that, you know, I'm glad that I came to understand, but now, the process of me getting there was good for me. Learning, it taught me a lot. Like I, how long was it until you changed your mind? I think it had to be in the ranks of gold ruby-ish somewhere, senior gold ruby. Um, because we were growing fast, and a lot of the trainings and stuff we did, I felt like I didn't need, because my team was growing fast, just by duplicating and being excited about the products and people needing the products so bad. But in order for me to keep raising my lid and keep growing my team and develop leaders under my leaders, I came to realize, senior gold ruby-ish, that I needed to change and start doing more things that would, help my business continue to grow. And because of my financial situation, and because of, other people under me wanting goals and me longing to help them, we just, I kind of came to the conclusion that, okay, yep, my upline's right. I do need to do this. And I'm a little defiant and stubborn sometimes. So that took a little bit, but just ask Jamie and Phil. And, but that's how we learn. And I wouldn't be the leader I am today without going through that journey, and learning from my mistakes and all of that. So sorry that got a little lengthy, but I hope that helps or makes sense or answers your question, Lisa.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. All right. If you can consider this a decision, I'm thinking here, and I think this is the one that glares out to me the most, and honestly one that can circle back around to me sometimes. So here's me sharing my heart. But when it comes down to the decision to not compare, not to hold myself, or to take a step forward because I think maybe someone else can do it better than myself. I think in the beginning, I was able to go through that when I was told to do something. I had made the decision early on that I was like, I'm going to do whatever I'm told to do. So if Tiffany or Phallin said I had to do something, I'd do it, but I wasn't going to step up to it myself because I had the insecurities and the comparison and all that, right? So it at least helped me move forward. But how things can circle around, I think, in terms of like a decision that I would regret not making would be like getting into the room with other peers, even as a diamond, other diamonds, and not being more proactive on having conversations with other people or asking questions or, rubbing shoulders and getting in there with people that I don't know as well. It's an intimidating room to be in, and I think that, when I'm not in an environment where I feel like I really, really know people well, when it comes to peers or intimidating situations, I can easily shy back. Even yet, I can easily think less of myself or be insecure. So that is something that that's not going to serve me, and that doesn't serve anything that's going to help me grow. So it's putting yourself out there, and it's making them first move in situations. So whether that's going to events for you guys, whether that's going to something and you're going to somewhere alone, which is probably the scariest thing ever for me to do if I'm going somewhere alone. It's taking those steps that you need to do that's going to help you grow, and maybe making those first conversations or asking those questions. So that's something that I've had to force myself to do in some situations, and in some situations I still struggle with. So and that would be something that I could easily say I regret, because even if you do it and it's uncomfortable, it's going to be better for you in the long run. keep doing the hard things, you guys. If you're comfortable, if your business feels like just a walk in the park or sitting on your couch, cuddling up next to your husband or the dog or whatever, you need to get out of your comfort zone. And it's not comfortable. All of the things that Jamie was saying, when she said get to events, I'm just like going anywhere in the middle of cold and flu season, like I'm certain I'm going to be puking at any given second. And then I get nervous because now I do training and I'm just like, oh my gosh, do I got the stomach bug already? Or am I just nervous? Like, it's so horrible. It's honestly traumatizing. But I would not have the business I had today if I chose to stay home. Number one, I wouldn't have gone to convention. I wouldn't have met people. I wouldn't have left my house. All of the things that are scary, whether for you, it's sending a message to somebody, whether following up literally makes you sick to your stomach because you don't want to hear one more person say that they didn't like the products. Keep doing those hard things over and over and over again until it gets easier, because until the pandemic, going to events did get easier for a while. Then I got back in my comfort zone again, which applies to all areas. So I think just getting out there is such a big part of growing and growing in your leadership. You might not feel qualified. You might feel like, let the diamonds do that. But no, your team needs to see you. You need to be the diamond to your own team. You need to take ownership for your team. Do the things that we are doing and do them with your people.
And I just want to say something that too that's so good. And I remember when I first had to lead a book club, and even when I first had to, when Jamie encouraged me to talk on book club and share my thoughts about the chapter, I did not want to do that at all. That was very, very uncomfortable for me. I was scared, and I truly told myself the lie that what I had to say didn't matter. Like nobody would really take anything away from what I had to say, and that it didn't matter or it didn't add value. And that was a lie, you guys, that I was telling myself. And so I started doing it because even if I sounded silly or made no sense in what I said, or my voice was shaking, or I made a fool of myself or whatever, I still did it. And the first time leading book club was atrocious. I mean, it was probably a mess. And I, but I did it, and I kept doing it. And now, I mean, I used to get jitters and be nervous and have to have everything in front of me. And now I just feel, that confidence. If I can just pour that into you and encourage you in that way, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Get through the hard and you will become more confident. And we were talking about confidence today in our diamond chat too, with some topics for Ruby retreat and stuff too, just confidence. And how do you get confidence? And you get it by doing things hard and doing them over and over again. And then you get confident because you have squashed fears and you have learned from your mistakes, and you can move forward and believe, you get confidence believing in yourself and believing in what you're sharing and believing that it can help people. And so I can't stress enough to do the hard things and get uncomfortable. And I know you've heard us preach that over and over, but take it seriously because it has completely shaped me. And I have gotten way more confident in my business and my verbiage and my speaking and training and all of that, because I've been doing it and failing forward doing it and getting uncomfortable. So speak up on book club. And when you have an opportunity, that is how you raise your leadership lid, you guys. It truly is. And your team will see that too.
Yeah, I was listening to another Diamond talk, and that's just also good, Sal. And I think a great reminder for all of us, just all of us. But I was listening to this other Diamond talk about just reaching out and how she's like, all right, I'm gonna do 3 a day. Like, I'm just gonna just do it. And then she's like, that was so painful. But when I finally decided to do 30 a day and I just didn't care, then it wasn't painful anymore. Like if you're just doing the bare minimum, it's going to be painful. But if you just literally jump off the cliff and go all in, and not you just, I don't know if it's like so much adrenaline you can't even worry about the things or what it is, but it is so true. When you're not overthinking, for me it's overthinking going on a trip. If it's just like, all right, I'm going, and it's not even nothing to stress or worry about, yeah, it's 2x versus 10x. That's exactly what it is, Geraldine. You just go do the thing, and it just makes it so much easier. So if you're feeling like it's a struggle, just do a little bit more. It's the slight edge too. Just go above and beyond a bit more. If you're going for your workout and you're dreading every second of it because you're doing the bare minimum, push yourself. Instead of doing, if it says 3 to 10 reps, do the 10 reps every single time. And it really just reframes your mind and your perspective on everything that you are doing. And I just want to leave you guys with that. And so pick something over the next 2 weeks that's hard to do. And don't just commit to doing one event the rest of the year. Do 5 and plan it out and get it on the calendar and just push yourself in that way. And I promise you, it won't be more work. It will not feel like more work, whether you're sending more messages. It's, from what I've heard, I've not done it yet, but it's easier to do 30 messages in a day than it is to just really overthink 3. And that's from a really high recruiting diamond. So
good.
anything else, ladies?
That's good. We believe in you guys. That's why we share so passionately. So take heart, take something into action after this call, and we'll see you guys next time.
Good. See ya.